Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the proper live patch this time, myself as the Vampire Coast, taking on a Skaven player on ladder. Decided to try out the Vampire Coast against the Skaven because I hadn't tried this matchup out yet, and I wanted to see how the Coast would do against the new Skaven, so we've got a pretty wide build. I actually have too many units to be able to summon at the moment, so I'm going to need to throw some units away. We've got a Vampire Fleet Captain with a polearm here leading the way, nice cheap option, Drown Dead Invocation. And that's it. We've got the black spot backing him up, a line of zombie polearms with a single siren hidden here in the woods because Skaven do have access to a lot of magic damage. We've also got the Tide of Skjold up front, the Regiment of Renown zombie deckhands, 4 deck gunners, 2 here hidden in the woods, and another group over here. And we've also got 4 carronades as well, 2 groups here and the 2 you saw in the initial shot. 3 fell bats to round things out, and that's it. For the Skaven, you can see the Teeth Breakers here, Rattling Guns, Regiment of Renown. We've also got the Bubo's Sharpshooters, Clan Rats with shields. Got the Regiment of Renown Doom Flares as well. Personally, I don't think there's really too much of a reason to take the Regiment of Renown Flares over the regular ones. I mean, they do get this extra armor ability, which is nice, but Flares are already pretty difficult to kill anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's not really going to be that helpful. To round things out, we've got some Skaven Slave Slingers, Clan Rat Spears and Shields on the flanks, some Shield Vermin through the center, 3 Shield Vermin, we've got Rattling Guns, 2 Warp Lightning Cannons, including Ikit's Zap. So, with that, you can see the bats are coming forward to just distract some fire, get some scouting done. I want to try and use these bats to make sure I can keep the natty Bubo's sharpshooters in line of sight so that my cannons can counterfire. Currently, I'm moving up these 2 carronades to start counterfiring on my opponent's Warp Lightning Cannons. So we're going to wait for them to get into range here. And yeah, basically this is going to turn into a little bit of an artillery duel scenario. And just wanted to talk a little bit about this. Oftentimes, if you're in a position where you have artillery and, you know, your opponent has artillery, you're often going to be put into this situation. The Skaven, for one specific reason, aren't the best at artillery duels. And that reason is that their artillery pieces are huge. I mean, look at the hitbox on this thing. It's massive if you compare it to like an Empire Great Cannon or a Dawi Cannon or anything like that. One cannon's already been destroyed here. But some friendly fire from those slings. As these bats come down and start to occupy that crew, we're going to see if we can't disengage them from the guns there, stop them from firing momentarily. Meanwhile, these 2 cannons are firing at this Warp Lightning Cannon in the center here. And you can see with the bats keeping line of sight on the sharpshooters, I am able to get these cannons firing in to get some damage done. Yeah, obviously the Natty Bubo's sharpshooters with their stock and snipe, I do need to stay in range to be able to see them, to be able to shoot them. So yeah, they're going to be a priority target. These Warp Lightning Cannons are obviously priority target as well. You can see this unit just about taking all 3 down of it, just about taking down all 3 of its guns, if I can use appropriate English. It has cost me 1 unit of fell bats, but again, I brought a full 20 stack here, so I actually needed to lose a couple of units in this initial phase to be able to summon units later on in the battle. So yeah, the artillery phase so far for me is going very well. You can see the sharpshooters here. They are getting some good shots, but they're just shooting bats, and in return they're getting creamed by cannons, which is, I'm sure, what you all want to see right now. Even if it is disgusting Vampire Coast doing the creaming. But, yeah. The Skaven Slave Slingers actually will be pretty cost effective in seeing the bats off. They can do some good damage to a big mass unit like that. The Rattling Guns obviously will tear them apart fairly quickly, but it's more just about, again, maintaining line of sight on those sharpshooters, making sure that we can stay fighting. I see that this artillery crew is very, very low, and they look like they're ready to rout, so I'm going to go ahead and run in there, and it looks like the fell bats actually just blew up that last artillery piece. So we're going to switch these 2 onto Ikit's Zap here, and continue to fire from the high ground. The deck gunners not really getting involved here. I'm just keeping them in reserve for now, keeping their ammo until later in the game. Excuse me. Another aspect of this is I am using up a lot of the ammo on Ikit Zap Zap and the Warp Lightning Cannon. I want to say they have less ammo baseline than the Coast Cannons, but you can see this cannon here has been taking a lot of return fire. I've been having to dump a couple invocations into them, but you know, they're still holding out. And granted, in an artillery duel, Vampire Coast can heal their artillery crews. It doesn't necessarily heal the artillery pieces themselves, so if you blow up the pieces, you know, they're still done for, but you can heal the crews, so it's, you know, potentially hard to route them off in that way. You can see I'm going to do just that here, drop a nice overcast invocation to heal up those bats as well. So yeah, if we take a check-in with the Skaven weapon teams, you can see all of them have taken good damage just all the way across the board. I eventually switched off of Ikit Zap Zap just to try and do damage to the weapons teams. My opponent, realizing that he's just in a terrible situation, is going to start advancing. Balance power slightly in my favor after 5 minutes or so of artillery duels. So we're going to fast forward a little bit as he advances here, just to speed things towards the final conclusion. The deck gunners are going to open up from the high ground on these flares. The flares are beelining towards this artillery group here, which is honestly a good idea. I'm going to try and respond with some overwatch from the carronades, but they're not accurate enough without that extra powder. Well, you know, I say that. They actually got a direct hit there and there. Did some really good damage on the approach. Not enough to kill unit models, but with the deck gunners providing some overwatch fire, these guys are going to get kind of an awkward engagement, go a little bit bumper cars like into the artillery pieces. So it will take them a little bit of time to take down the carronade crews. That being said, zombies advancing up across the field. You can see these deck gunners opening up on the storm vermin as they advance across the field here. We're going to use the zombies to start to body block, of course. On the low ground, the sirens are going to charge out towards these storm vermin who had taken a bunch of damage already. Meanwhile, this artillery crew is just about gone, but that's totally fine. They've already more than got their costs worth. You can see the balance power pretty well in my favor at this point. The zombies are going to start to get ground through a little bit by storm vermin, but the sirens, of course, with their minus melee attack, are going to start to drag down the storm vermin, you know, drag down their attack stats, and of course they also do armor-piercing damage, so they can get in there and do a bit of damage on the side. The Grace here for the Skaven is going to get charged at by zombies here. Meanwhile, over here, a little bit of an unfortunate situation for me. The Flayer actually got through a very well-timed Dreaded 13th, just blows up my deck gunners. So I've lost 2 deck gunners and 2 carronades now, which is not the best. These zombie polearms that had been protecting over here were just woefully inadequate to protect against all of this stuff. But yeah, thankfully these storm vermin are on a timer, and the timer's not super long either. You can see only 68 seconds on that upgraded Dreaded 13th, so those guys aren't going to be around for too long. So I'm just going to kite these guys back a little bit. I wanted my deck gunners to get in range to shoot, but unfortunately there was a bit of a slope in the way, so they are going to move a bit closer, which is not the best. But the one remaining carronade still getting effective fire on some of these Skaven weapons teams here. You can see Ikit Zap Zap completely out of ammo at this point, which is most unfortunate. The Grace here getting dragged down by zombies, which is not the best, but that blowing up this flank has brought the balance power back towards even, and with this summoned storm vermin, that is a quite powerful unit summoned on the field, but you can see the timer on them is getting very, very close to being done. We've got the fleet captain here. The flayers did eventually get through and get to my other deck gunners here, but we've got the fleet captain. He's going to summon up some regular deck hands just to make sure we keep those summoned storm vermin in place, and then he himself is going to get in here with his halberd and start to poke at the side of these flayers here. And yeah, they're not too happy. I've also got the black spot in an overwatch position, so they can kind of fire through. They do have a little bit of an obstructed line of sight, especially with this heavy forest here, but they still can provide, you know, a little bit of leadership damage, and it's enough to see off the flayers at the very least. So the Dwarf Thing Menace is gone. We're going to go ahead and heal up this pocket here. Zombies and sirens. Sirens, of course, cause terror, which is another reason to bring them in this matchup. And rattling guns don't actually cause magic damage. Both rattling guns and Jezzails don't necessarily cause magic damage. So because the Warp Lightning Cannon's out of ammo, there's really not too much that can threaten these sirens. I mean, obviously for my opponent, it may have been more worthwhile to use the Dreaded 13th on top of them. It probably could have blown them up. I understand wanting to shut down the deck gunners over on that side, but honestly, with the flares over there, probably was a little bit overkill. They were going to go down anyway just to the flares alone. But you can see the sirens here with the terror causing major issues. The sharpshooters getting routed off, the storm vermin getting routed off. This unit of storm vermin still relatively healthy, but unfortunately is in a position to start getting side-shotted by the cannon there, so we'll see. This side angle shot from a cannon can be absolutely brutal on a unit of infantry. Likewise, we're going to get some other units to start opening up here. The Syrene's also fighting, so yeah, you can see Skaven running for the hills all across the field. It's just not a great time to be a Skaven, but come on, give me a nice, just brutal side shot through here. No? Come on, you zombies. There we go, that's what we want to see. Some fire from on high as well. Ooh, absolutely brutal. That is going to see off those storm vermin in a big hurry. And yeah, with the leadership getting low, you can see the balance power very heavily in my favor at this point. The Skaven really not too happy here. Storm vermin trying to slog uphill, but there are a few remaining deck gunners here continuing to fire. The flayers have come back from route, which is not the best, but thankfully the black spot, of course, with their bayonets, the anti-large armor piercing, not really too worried about the flayers charging into them. Carronade's just about out of ammo here. The creepy sea ladies, the Syrenes here, doing their thing, just fighting some Skaven slaves. And yeah, just a matter of time before we hit critical army losses here. Looks like these storm vermin are probably going to get into these deck gunners. But yeah, oh, I see some zombies flying in the distance. That means the flayers must have come into contact. And if the flayers were to stay mobile, you know, and be used more like chariots in this situation, probably get a lot of work done against various units, but just throwing them in and leaving them, obviously against the black spot, who have anti-large armor piercing, it's not going to be the best. Oh man, that was quite the explosion. Those things, they go out in a bang, huh? But yeah, one of them goes down there, the other one not going to want to stick around for too long. The Greyseer is running away. Did manage to summon up one more unit of clan rats before he left, but not going to be enough. You can see the clan rats don't last super long on the summon timer there. Immediately they wear away. Almost immediately, I should say. And yeah, the Carronade firing in. At this point, it's just some storm vermin holding out their leadership, but my opponent's going to go ahead and admit defeat there. Was a bit of a slog, but we managed to get through. You can see the kills on the Carronades there, especially the one that managed to hold to the end. 139 kills, super cost effective. Managed to take out Skaven weapon teams. These three all started out with a single XP chevron. Two of them managed to gain one more, and this one managed to gain two more, which is honestly quite impressive. Yeah, the Carronades were definitely the MVPs here, taking out, you know, a lot of my opponent's ranged units there. Obviously, the Storm Vermin, once they came forward and got into contact, just raffle stomped the zombies. You know, no surprises there, but likewise, Syrene's getting 108 kills, helping to provide some nice terror, and, you know, the melee attack debuff as well. Deck Gunners kind of got run over a little bit there, but they were able to provide a little bit of damage on the Storm Vermin. You know, the Flayers as well. The Black Spot, great for dealing with the Flayers, being that they can both shoot, and you don't necessarily want them fighting in melee against, especially like multiple units of Flayers, but one Flayer is probably not a huge issue for them to fight in melee. And then once it retreats, they can shoot it, and yeah, it's just not really a good situation for the Flayers there. But yeah, Bats did their thing, distracting, disrupting, taking shots. So yeah, super fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. It was interesting to play. Certainly an interesting matchup, and I do think that the Skaven are gonna. This is probably gonna be one of the toughest matchups for them. Obviously, you know, map-wide fear, being undead. The Vampire Coast are one of the few factions that can kind of outshoot you to a degree. You know, maybe if the Skaven went with a full four Warp Lightning cannons, it might have turned out a little bit differently. It's hard to say, but I feel like just the Vampire Coast, because of that fear mechanic and because of the healing, they're, you know, just a little bit better in a straight up fight against a Skaven. I don't know, what do you guys think? Can the Skaven take on the undead now? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but in my experience, Tomb Kings and Vampire Coast at least are still going to be pretty good against the Skaven. Let me know in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you do like the sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. If you want to support my channel in a more personal way, be sure to check out the Patreon page in the channel down below. That's what's going to allow me to take this channel full-time, which is, you know, my eventual goal. So if you want to help me with that, be sure to check out that link, and we'll see you next time.